The sound was faint at first, like a muffled cry seeping through solid stone. When the construction crew drilled into the old suburban home in Reno, Nevada, they expected to find cracked pipes or a faulty foundation. Instead, their hammers struck against something hollow, something that should never have been there. And when the cement wall began to break apart, a smell drifted out, stale, suffocating, and unforgettable. This was the beginning of one of Nevada's darkest, most haunting tales, a story of a mother and the unthinkable secret she entombed within the walls of her own house. But how does someone reach the point of sealing away the very life they once cradled in their arms? What twisted fear or madness could drive a parent to such an act? And most importantly, what exactly was discovered inside that cement wall? The house itself was ordinary at first glance, a two-story structure on a quiet street, once painted cream but now weathered and gray. The neighborhood knew it as that house with the covered windows, where curtains never moved and laughter never spilled under the porch. It was the home of Mary Ann Cole, a single mother who moved into the neighborhood with her infant son nearly a decade earlier. Few people saw her after that. Fewer still ever heard the cries of a child inside. Neighbors whispered about the strange silence. Some claimed they never saw a stroller, never saw toys scattered across the lawn. Others swore they once glimpsed a small hand in the upstairs window, but when they waved, the hand disappeared and never returned. By the time the construction crew unearthed what lay within the wall, Mary Ann herself had vanished. She left behind nothing but boarded-up rooms, unpaid bills, and a terrifying mystery sealed in stone. According to investigators, the wall was not part of the original blueprints. It had been added later, rough, uneven, almost desperate in design. The cement was layered thickly, as though someone wanted to make certain it would never be broken open. Yet the cracks betrayed time, and the truth demanded to be uncovered. No. Inside, they found fragments of fabric warped and hardened by years pressed against concrete. A small blanket, a faded rattle, and the chilling suggestion that they once belonged to someone who had no voice, no way out, no chance to escape. This discovery posed a question that cut deeper than any headline. What happened to the baby? The story, as pieced together, began with Mary Ann's arrival in Reno. She was described as quiet, almost painfully shy. She rarely made eye contact, never lingered in conversation. Yet there was always a heaviness to her, like she carried a burden far larger than herself. At grocery stores, she kept her baby tucked close, swaddled so tightly that no one ever saw the child's face. She would vanish quickly if anyone tried to get too close. Some neighbors pitied her, some feared her, but no one ever intervened. That silence, that choice to look the other way, would later haunt them all. The night that sealed this nightmare into history is believed to have unfolded in winter, when Nevada nights drop below freezing and silence drapes over the desert like a shroud. One neighbor reported hearing muffled thuds from the house, as if something heavy was being dragged across the floor. Another recalled a strange grinding sound like stone mixing with water, long past midnight. But no one knocked on her door. No one called the police. After all, it was just Mary Ann. Strange, yes, but harmless. Wasn't she? What haunts this case most is the uncertainty. Some believe the baby was already gone before being placed in that cement tomb. Others shuddered to think the cries that echoed faintly through those walls might have been real, desperate, alive. Investigators uncovered an old cement mixer in her basement. Buckets of hardened plaster, tools scattered like abandoned weapons of construction. It painted a picture more chilling than words could hold. A mother mixing cement by hand, sealing her child into a wall, one heavy layer at a time. Why? That was the question that sent shivers across the entire state. Was it fear, poverty, a mind unraveling into madness, or a sinister attempt to bury a truth she never wanted the world to see? As the headlines screamed Nightmare, Nevada, the community could not escape its own guilt. They had seen the signs. They had felt something was wrong. And yet, in their silence, a wall had been built, brick by brick, lie by lie, until the truth itself became entombed. And now, as we stand before that wall, cracked open by time, we are left staring into the darkness that was hidden there. The blanket, the rattle, the silence. But this story does not end with the discovery. Because what investigators found next would turn a chilling mystery into a full-blown nightmare. When investigators peeled back the last fragments of cement, they didn't just uncover relics of infancy. They found something far more disturbing, a series of handprints pressed faintly into the inner surface of the wall. Tiny, shallow indentations, almost smudged, as though small fingers had pressed against the drying cement in a final, desperate attempt to escape. It wasn't just a tomb, it was a prison. Those prints whispered of a terrifying possibility, that the baby might have been alive when the wall closed in. That realization sent a ripple of horror through the entire investigative team. Hardened detectives, who had seen their fair share of gruesome scenes, stood in silence, their eyes unable to look away. The case quickly exploded in the media. Headlines across Nevada screamed, "Mother's secret buried in the walls. Nightmare house in Reno. Tiny hands frozen in cement." The once-forgotten neighborhood was suddenly flooded with reporters, flashing cameras, and endless questions. Neighbors were hounded, friends, or what little acquaintances Marianne had, were interrogated, and the entire city asked, "Where is Marianne Cole?" The timeline grew clearer, yet darker, with every clue. Financial records revealed Marianne had been under tremendous stress. She had lost her job months before disappearing. Utility bills stacked up. Her phone line was disconnected. Court papers hinted at custody disputes, an estranged father demanding rights to the child. All signs of a life unraveling. But none of that explained the cement wall. None of that justified sealing innocence away in stone. Detectives followed leads across Nevada. Abandoned motels, bus stations, truck stops, all combed for signs of Marianne. Witnesses occasionally claimed to have seen her, a gaunt woman with tired eyes, sometimes carrying a worn suitcase, sometimes alone, always vanishing before police arrived. Yet she remained a ghost. And as her image spread, pale, hollow, and haunting, her absence became just as terrifying as her crime. What disturbed investigators most, however, wasn't just what they found in the wall, it was what they found around it. Scratched into the wooden beams supporting the wall were markings, tallies, dozens of them, carved crudely with a knife or nail. Some investigators believed they were just random scratches from construction. but others whispered something far darker, that each mark represented a day, a count, a measure of time. If true, the wall wasn't just a hiding place, it was a silent calendar of suffering. Forensic experts tried to determine how long the child may have lived inside that sealed tomb. The evidence was murky. The airtight cement suggested suffocation would have been swift. But the handprints, those haunting handprints, suggested struggle. They suggested moments, hours, maybe longer, where life fought desperately against stone. That detail was never released in full to the public. It was too much, too haunting. But among investigators, it became the detail they could never forget. The community of Reno, once quiet and uneventful, was now fractured. Some blamed Marianne entirely, branding her a monster. Others whispered that she had been a victim of her own unraveling mind, a woman abandoned, isolated, and broken until something inside her snapped. But the truth lay sealed in silence, just like the wall itself. Years later, the house was abandoned, boarded up, and eventually demolished. Yet the story lived on. Locals still lower their voices when they pass the empty lot. Children dare each other to step onto the cracked foundation. And every so often, someone swears they hear a faint sound, like tapping from beneath the earth. Whether it's imagination or something more, no one stays long enough to find out. The case of Marianne Cole remains unsolved. Was she consumed by guilt, wandering the country as a nameless drifter? Or did she disappear into the shadows, forever escaping justice? Her face, drawn and weary, remains frozen on missing posters long since faded by sun and rain, and the child, sealed forever in cement, remains nameless to the public, a ghost story etched into Nevada's history. As chilling as this nightmare is, it leaves us with one final haunting question. If walls could speak, what would they tell us about the secrets we hide inside them? And so the house is gone. The lot is empty. But the memory lingers, heavy as stone. The last words from an investigator still echo today. It wasn't the wall that haunted me. It was the hands. The little hands that tried to push their way out. If you want to hear more stories like this one, where ordinary homes hold unspeakable secrets, make sure to subscribe, because this is only one of many nightmares waiting to be told.